First up with public comment will be John Klein, representing the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. You have 5 minutes. The light will come on at 4 minutes, and then the red light comes on at the end of your time.
Thank you. Thank you. I won't need that much time. Good morning, Mr. President, board members, staff, and members of the public. My name is John Klein. I'm here to represent Backcountry Hunters and Anglers. I worked with them for a number of years now. I'm also a life member. And I'm here to comment and support one of the rules that you'll be voting on, which is item A in your agenda regarding mentored youth hunting. So a little bit off script. I'm fortunate enough to have been involved, and there's only a handful of people in this room, in the original mentored youth hunting bill in 2005, 2006. It was a combination between National Shooting Sports Foundation and National Wild Turkey Federation and a bunch of NGOs who I was working with. I see some heads shaking who remember. So it was a big, big deal. Pennsylvania was selected specifically. I was going to say targeted, but that's too cheesy. But really, as the first state to get involved and make legal this idea of allowing a young person under the regular age, the regular licensing age to participate in hunting. And every single one of us knows that the way we got into hunting is somebody took us, right? You went out and you did it. Very, very important. On behalf of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, the Pennsylvania chapter, we strongly support this proposal. I can tell you that in 2006, then commissioners made it known that this would be a slow rollout, a very methodic rollout and expansion of this program. You continue to do that. I applaud you for that. Thank you. We hope you approve this change. In your proposal, or in a commentary, excuse me, the last line in the first paragraph caught me. The Commission's proposing these changes to improve access to the program and expand hunting opportunities. That's what Backcountry Hunters and Anglers is all about. That's one of our primary tenets, those of you that are either members or know what we're about. So that's why we strongly support this. Most especially for people that don't know what this is if you allow the span of control to get bigger, which means you can take more than one kid out with you as long as you can handle it, allow those people to have their own tags. So it's very, very important to us. So thank you for that. I'll stand for any questions, but other than that, I'm done, and hope you support and look forward to a positive vote. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Ralph Martone.
Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, Board President, the Board, Executive Director Smith, and staff. My name is Ralph Martone. I'm a retired physics teacher, but I'm also a former commissioner. I sat there for a number of years, and as John mentioned, I was very impressed with Pennsylvania's role in the mentored youth program. Pennsylvania being the first state to adopt that proved to me that Pennsylvania was a leader in conservation, and the Game Commission has always been a leader. I'm lucky to hunt all over the country, and everything I hear about Pennsylvania is positive, that we lead in wildlife management, we lead in conservation, and I am thrilled to see this on your agenda today. When I was a commissioner is when the change was made to eliminate under 7 years old. The restriction was added 7 and above for mentored youth. That did not sit well with me. So what happened at that time is there was a lot of negative articles out there and letters to the editor showing a very young child with a deer and a deer rifle. And they kept pushing that and pushing it. And so I decided as a commissioner to go investigate those. So through law enforcement, I was connected with some of those individuals that were showing up with a deer and a young kid and a picture. And the one I want to bring up was a 5-year-old. I went and visited his family, and his mother and dad were nice enough to host me and talk to me about it. And he had a 9-year-old brother that was a mentor. But this 5-year-old would not be left out. He wanted to be part of the hunting program. He was going to be a hunter no matter what. So they bought him a mentored permit. At that time, it was allowable. He wanted to hunt, and the first day of deer season came up. The father said, you know, we're not going to take you out hunting with your brother. But he would not be left home. He had to be there. So the father set up a blind in one corner of the field, the 9-year-old and the father. 75 yards away, another blind with a mother and a 5-year-old. They watched deer after deer come out, and this 5-year-old was excited about everything he saw. Finally, a nice buck, not a trophy, came out of the corner of the field. The 9-year-old got a nice shot, killed the deer. It ran 30 yards toward the blind and dropped. The father secured the firearm. The 9-year-old and 5-year-old ran out to the deer and celebrated. Got their picture taken, holding the deer, holding the antlers. The father gave the 9-year-old the firearm to get a picture taken. Now remember, the firearm's unloaded now. Gave it to the 5-year-old to get his picture taken because he was more excited. It was hard. The mother said it was hard to tell which kid had killed the buck. This 5-year-old was so excited about being there at the time. They took pictures, 5-year-old holding the deer and the gun. On the way out, the 5-year-old rode on the father's shoulders while the father put the gun on his shoulder with a sling, and they're all dragging the deer out, took a picture. Those pictures showed up on social media saying, look, a 5-year-old killed a deer, and the father tagged it with the kid's thing. The father didn't kill that deer, according to social media. The father killed the deer and used the kid's tag. That was not true at all. I investigated that one. I investigated 3 others that were similar, and none of them were true. They were all part of this campaign to get this 7-year-old rule in place. It's time that Pennsylvania goes back to being what 36 other states have, and that is a true mentored program allowing any age, letting the parent make the decision, not the Game Commission. You had a great program in 2006, and I think it can go back to that by eliminating that 7-year-old restriction. So thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Thank you. Next up is Jeff Warner with the PA Federation of Black Powder Shooters.
Good morning. My name is Jeff Warner. I'm the president of the Pennsylvania Federation of Black Powder Shooters. I'm here this morning to present to you the petition that we've had going around this year to implement a 2-week flintlock season in the fall, where a hunter of the flintlock could harvest both a buck and a doe. Ideally, this season would coincide with the early muzzleloader season, either start that season a week early or maybe run it a week late, with continuing the 1 week where we allow the percussion and inline guys to harvest their doe. We believe that the implementation of this new fall season would not only provide a better environment to mentor the young hunters in the medium of muzzleloading with the better weather, but also provide a safer environment for our elderly hunters as well. We also believe this new season will show higher sale muzzleloader stamps. One of the most common comments we get on this so far has been, you know, maybe I would actually buy a muzzleloader stamp if I didn't have to freeze in the wintertime. With one Reddit user actually saying, I'd actually buy a muzzleloader stamp if I didn't have to freeze my ass off. With all that being said, this doesn't mean that we are willing to trade the late season for this new fall season. We as Pennsylvanians are very proud to say that we're the only state in the country that has a dedicated season to flintlock hunting. And with the recent changes to the late season, with the inclusion of inlines and the extension of the centerfire rifle season, a lot of our flintlock hunters have purveyed a feeling of being stabbed in the back. And the feedback that we've gotten so far, predominantly pertaining to this new season, is they'd love to see it, but they don't want to see the late season go away any more than it already has. Many don't know, but our organization, the Federation, took a big part in the implementation of the late season in the 70s. That's something that I'd love to start doing again. I don't want to work against the Game Commission going forward. I'm not trying to fight with you guys. I want to work with you guys to keep muzzleloading alive in Pennsylvania. Next year is the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The Pennsylvania long rifle played a huge part in the Revolution, so that history means a lot to us. And we feel with the 250th coming up, that can mean a lot for muzzleloading, not only the sport of muzzleloading, but muzzleloading hunting as well. So like I said, I'd like to purvey to you guys that I'd like to make our organization as well as myself available for any consultation going forward. We are a slightly small organization yet. We used to be a very large organization in the state of Pennsylvania. So our outreach isn't necessarily where I'd like it to be just yet, but we're getting there. Currently, the change.org petition has 1,414 signatures, and I have 461 physical signatures as well. We've been running the petition since January, and we've had the physical petition at, I think, 5 different trade shows that centered on muzzleloading. With that, I can give you guys, this is the petition. You'll also find some of my business cards in there. I'd love to answer any questions, so I'll stick around for a bit here. Thank you.
Next up is Bill Black with the Washington County Farm Bureau.
Good morning, Commissioners and fellow members. I'm here today to represent the farmers of Washington County Farm Bureau. My wife and I own a property, 129 acres. We're no longer farming, but we do lease that farm property out, and it's growing primarily soybeans and corn. Now, our farm is like many farms in Washington County. We're called Apache farms. Now, you probably don't know what an Apache farm is, but I can tell you Apache farm is the one that has 2 acres here and 3 acres there and 5 acres there, but a 20-acre field is almost unheard of. And I emphasize this because it's these small patches where you're trying to grow a crop, and it's almost like this room. The deer don't really like to get inside to feed. They're sort of like people. They're sort of lazy. And so they eat on the outside. And if you travel today in Washington County, and the corn is starting to dry down, the corn that those deer ate on the outside rows, those stalks have died back earlier. So now they're already brown. We still have green on the inside. Now, I volunteered to come here and talk to you folks today, primarily because of a meeting that we had in Washington County with our state legislators, our county officials, our state senator, and our U.S. senators. And we voiced our concerns about the deer damage that's occurring in Washington County. I can't think that this is only limited to Washington County, but it's unique to Washington County because of the topography and the size of these crops or acreage. After this meeting, I decided I wanted to go into a piece of my corn to see what it looked like. I knew because I'd been mowing around the outside of some of these pieces that there were no ears on the outside 2 rows. So I ventured on into the field, 6, 8, 10, 12, I don't know how many rows in, and I came on a site, I'm not exaggerating, the size of this room. Now those deer were not visible to anybody from the outside. They were protected in there, and they knew they were protected. And they had mangled this corn and knocked it down. I brought 2 ears of corn. I meant to bring them in. They're in the car, but I didn't want to walk back here to get them. These deer they don't bother the corn when it's coming out of the ground. It's not like soybeans. When the soybeans start coming out of the ground, the deer will start feeding on it. The groundhogs like to feed on the soybeans too when it's coming around. And the groundhog will have a hole there, and it'll have a circle out, and it'll keep going out and out and out until somebody disturbs it. This crop damage is significant. In this article, the fellow that where we had this meeting claimed that he spends $750 an acre for lime seed fertilizer and spray. And he says he has to plant 40% more just to have enough bushels to feed his livestock over the winter. I'm down to 1 minute, is that right? I would like to elaborate more, but I appreciate what you've done. They talked about the hunter program. I thought this had some possibilities of helping us. But what the Game Commission has done now to try to curb this deer population has not worked. And we need some kind of help, not last year, but right now. And please, try to take into consideration some way that you can help us. Thank you so much.
Next up is Lisa Wary, also from Washington County.
Good morning, President and Board, and everyone. I thank you for your time this morning. I am a fellow farmer in Washington County, but I'm also speaking on behalf, I'm a county president there in Washington County for Farm Bureau. I'm speaking a lot for the farmers in southwestern PA also. We have a severe, as you know, deer damage problem in southwestern PA. We've been working with the Game Commission for the last 18 months, and we're trying to work with you, but we as farmers are getting a little frustrated because we had a vegetable farmer come to us and said, look, they're coming into my high tunnels, eating his tomato plants. They wiped out all of his peppers this year, all of his zucchini. These are people's livelihoods that we're dealing with right now, that they are not able to, that's what he makes for his living, to sell to the public. We know that food prices are very high right now, and this is not going to help either. But what we need is, we know about the Certified Hunter Program. It is a good program, but it's not helping us immediately. I got a video last Wednesday night in one of the fields. It's a soybean field, and it was on Facebook, 100 deer, and I am not exaggerating. There was 100 deer in that field. They wiped that field out. Jimmy Lindley, who's a fellow farmer, my neighbor, he planted a soybean field, 30 acres. It's gone. It's nothing but soil. This is hurting him because that's his livelihood, to sell to fellow farmers and also for grain crops, to feed our animals, and also to be able to feed the nation and the public. Our farm is a sheep farm. We raise hay. We have 500 head of breeding ewes, but our one field where we do, it's 10 acres, is all hay. Well, we got our first cutting off, our second cutting off. Well, we're not going to get a third cutting. We went to the inside of the field and it is down to the ground. So we need that hay to feed our ewes when they're lambing in the winter. So we're losing a lot of damage too. So it's just not your crop farmers, it's us as that we raise sheep because we sell for the meat. So this is becoming a very, very serious problem, and we're asking for help now. We have asked if there's ways that we could compost these deer as we shoot them, but we know there's limitations, we know there's rules we got to follow, we understand that, but we need help now because you're not going to have, and the farmers are paying for insurance. The insurance program only works for 3 years for crop insurance, so they were going to get dropped. So they're not going to get any money back. And we're looking at, like as a farmer, like we as a sheep farmer, we lose lambs due to coyotes. And we have an indemnity program where we send back to the government and they reimburse us for our loss. Well, I think the same thing should be happening to the crop farmers too. As they're losing their crops, there should be an indemnity program, and I don't know, and I'm not here to slam the Game Commission, but either come out of your pockets so you feel what the farmers are dealing with to pay the loss of amount of crops, because Jimmy Lindley lost $20,000 crops so far this year, and that's only the beginning of the year. So there is a problem, and we just need some help is all we're asking for. Some way that you guys can help us out to be able to protect what the farmers are trying to grow, because we know that farming is getting smaller and smaller. The average age of farmers right now is 70. So, and the highest suicide rate in this country is farmers. And I've done a lot of studying on that as far as mental health goes. So we're trying to protect our farmers mentally, physically, and with the deer control, it is putting a lot of stress on them. So I just wanted to come, and I thank you for allowing me to speak today on behalf of this, because it is a very serious problem that we're dealing with. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mike Kreiner with the Pennsylvania Federation of Sportsmen's Clubs.
So, good morning, commissioners, morning, public. Wish all the seats would be filled up this morning, but it's just wishful thinking. Again, I'm Mike Kreiner with have the pleasure of being the Director of Legislative Affairs for the PFSC. Have had the pleasure of representing our board and our 70,000 plus members across the state for the last 4 years. I'm here again to thank you. Your volunteers. You've stepped up to be one of 9 individuals in the Commonwealth to represent your region, represent all the general public, the farmers, the NGOs. I can't thank you enough, and you're not paid for it. So I'm just kind of reinforcing something I talk about a lot. I'm a troublemaker lobbyist, so I got to deal with my clients, the legislators, the general public, trying to get enough votes. And it's kind of where you're at on a lot of these things that you're going to be doing today and other things you've been dealt with. So again, one of 9 people, you have a tremendous amount of responsibility, and I'm sure you all take it, and I know you take it seriously. All I'm going to say is just reinforcing, it's not often the General Assembly. Most of the folks in the General Assembly, I love them to death, but they're power hungry. They usually don't give up the control of the ball, sports term. But in this case, I mean, they do that so often. They do it to independent agencies. They've done it here recently with Sunday hunting. You heard Ralph and John talk about the mentored youth hunting program that you guys are going to talk about today. They did that, giving you control over it. Caliber of weapons, the list goes on. It's a tremendous amount of responsibility. And so the unfair question that I'm going to ask again today is, I know you volunteer your time. I know you're all real people, have sporting events, go hunting as well. Keep doing what you're doing what the staff's doing. The commission's come a long way since whether I was right or wrong last July when I kind of lashed out on reading the political tea leaves the right way at the Capitol. The commission's come a long way since then. Steve and Crescinda and Cody and the staff have done a great job of righting the ship in the Capitol. I don't think pun and terrible pun, but I don't think they're not shooting at you right now, which is great. But I think it's important as much as you can. I'm going to steal something from Ralph, who's since left, but he hit me on this today. The balance of science, the social aspect that you have to take into consideration on this three-legged stool, if you will, working with the NGOs as much as possible, and then the politics. Unfortunately, you volunteered thinking you're going to just represent what happens in our woods and our fields and stuff, but politics comes into play too. And so what I'm asking is try to be careful when you make decisions, that you're covering your base from the legislative side, from the NGO side, from the social side, and communicate as much as possible before you move in a direction if possible. I know that that's not going to be possible. Sunday hunting is an example. The PFSC was very thankful what you guys did in a short period of time. You didn't have a chance to run it past all 253 elected officials what you're going to do, or all the NGOs. Sometimes you have to move forward and then beg for forgiveness and then communicate later. All I want to do is ask again is try as much as possible before you move forward. Know that there might be unintended consequences, whether it's Sunday hunting, some groups not being happy that they didn't get an extra Sunday, the mentored youth hunting issue. I understand what Ralph and others were saying as far as having a totally open program. I think it's awesome. I've had a chance to talk to you about it. I think the mentored program is amazing. It does great things. I still have a minute, right? Okay. My point is, the more communication as possible, the legislature right now, and this is just my vantage point of where the Capitol's at now, is taking a more gun control approach because of political season coming up, and just being responsible as to how we communicate decisions and unintended consequences, that we're being responsible, allowing people when they're out in the woods and young kids. I personally think it's great that the parents have the final say, but just make sure that you communicate if and when you do make a decision on those things, and know that people are watching and listening. And so that's my only point to it is, you're a volunteer. Unfortunately, I have a lot to deal with, so thank you.
Our final speaker will be Mitch Couric with the Pennsylvania Farm Bureau.
Good morning. It's great to be back with all of you again. Appreciate you guys holding these and allowing some public comments. So this is my fourth time now speaking here. My name is Mitchell Couric. I cover the state and local affairs at Farm Bureau. I'm our primary state lobbyist. We do advocacy work all across the Commonwealth, represent over 26,000 farm families. And primarily, I'm here to thank you guys for your willingness, your cooperation to work with us. As you've heard earlier, crop damage is still a major issue for us. We're very far from, completely getting everything back into balance, and there's plenty more work to do. And that's evident. You could still see it across the state. But the partnership that we've had with you and Farm Bureau and other organizations is a great step in the right direction. The Certified Hunter Program as well is a great step in the right direction. We'd like to see that pilot program be expanded across the state. I know it's still in its early stages and you guys are still collecting data, but we do see the value in expanding that so it's in the hands of more farmers. As well as that, we also have some recommendations about expanding some regulatory changes to ag depredation permits, specifically allowing baiting across the state. It would be a more effective tool and gives additional wildlife options or wildlife management options for our farmers, keeping them away from the fields, and rather they could have a more targeted area to mitigate some of the damage by removing the deer. And with respect to game lands, we encourage continued investment in the habitats, food resources to keep the wildlife within those areas. We see real value in expanding the use of technology and available resources, including public engagement, primarily to strengthen your programs and data collection as well, to help us understand the wildlife landscape across the state, because data collection is of the utmost importance right now, so we could try to target some specific areas. So just again, we want to thank you for your partnership. We've come a long way. I wasn't, I'm only a year at Farm Bureau, but you guys have been an open line of communication with us. The entire time I've been here, it's been great working with staff, Cody, Crescenda, and everyone. There's still plenty of more work to be done, and we just want you to all be mindful of the major issues that our farmers still face with crop damage. So I just want to thank you all for your time today. Thank you.
That will conclude our public comments for the day.
We'll start with program.
Good morning, Commissioners, Executive Staff. My name is John Tauscher. I'm the Private Land Section Chief, and I'm pleased to be here this morning to talk to you about the Hunter Access Program and some changes that we're going to be implementing to hopefully bring the Hunter Access Program into the 21st century. Is there a tech guy here? Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. The Hunter Access Program is kind of our keystone private lands program in Pennsylvania. It's a landowner-driven program. It's been extremely successful over the past 80 years. Currently, it's one of the largest truly voluntary access programs in the country. A brief history: first started 89 years ago as an experimental cooperative farm game public hunting program, basically targeting areas around metropolitan areas. It was a partnership between landowners and the Pennsylvania Game Commission to open up access for hunters in those metropolitan areas. The PGC provided habitat work and would raise and release small game to provide hunting opportunities on those properties. In 1958, we expanded with the Safety Zone program, which was essentially the same thing, but it expanded outside those metropolitan areas and provided opportunities throughout the state. In 1971, it expanded again to include large landowners, particularly forest landowners, with the requirement that there had to be at least 1,000 acres to enroll. All three programs kind of provided the same thing. We provided the same benefits to the landowners, and landowners all provided access for hunting. So we kind of got rid of the three separate programs and rolled them into one called the Hunter Access Program. At its peak, there was over 2.6 million acres enrolled in the program. So you're probably asking, if it's so successful, why do we want to change the program? Well, we've had an increased number of landowner and hunter complaints. They all kind of fall into four categories. One, mapping system's inadequate. You can see a screenshot of what it currently looks like. Having lots of hunters get upset because they're showing up at the wrong property. We're getting neighboring landowners upset because they think they're enrolled in a property they're not. Restrictions, we allow landowners to implement any kind of restrictions they want, but we don't do a good job of explaining what those are, so it leads to some negative hunter and landowner interactions. Permissions for these properties range from open access to you need to talk to me every time you want to access my property, which is perfectly fine. But again, we don't do a good job of explaining that on our system, so it leads, again, to negative landowner and hunter interactions. And then we're not clear on what the access is, so we get hunters that are extremely upset that they're being told no, which is perfectly fine. Landowners can do that. But it'd be nice to be transparent so that the hunters know what access is available on those properties. So looking at all these complaints we got, honestly, most of them revolve around the lack of transparency we have with our own system. So we're tasked with looking at how we can improve it to make it better for both the landowners and hunters. The first major change that we want to implement is get rid of, we want to basically have 3 tiers that are all based on access requirements for the hunter. So that gives a standard rule and understanding of what each hunter needs to do to get access to that specific tier. Tier 1's open access. So the landowner doesn't want to implement any kind of hunting restrictions. They don't want to restrict how many people can access, so they don't have to use any kind of reservation. If there's an open season, they can go hunt it. Tier 2 is what we call a reservation tier. Basically, the landowner wants to have some kind of hunting restriction, or they want to limit the number of hunters on the property. All access is going to be controlled through the PGC's reservation system. Tier 3 is essentially the same as Tier 2. There's a hunting restriction, limit the number of hunters. It's going to be controlled through the reservation system, but there's the added requirement that the hunter has to contact the landowner and get the reservation slip signed to ensure that there was coordination between the hunter and the landowner. The next big change is we have 3 different types of reservation categories. Big game, small game, again, allows some sort of hunting of big game or small game. The reservations for big game and small game are good for a single day. Each hunter is required to obtain a reservation with the caveat that junior hunters and mentored hunters do not need their own reservation. They can go with the adult. For waterfowl, allows waterfowl hunting like ducks, geese, mergansers, and coots. Again, reservations are good for one day. However, the difference here is the reservation is good for up to 5 hunters. So one hunter has to get the reservation and they can list 4 additional hunters on the reservation. The last one's trapping. Again, for trapping of fur bearers, a reservation is good for 3 weeks. This was determined to allow basically the trapper to run a trap line, set them, let them set, and attract the fur bearers thereafter. Those reservations are 1 per trapper. The next really big change is the mapping system. There you can see a snapshot of what the new system looks like. You'll see that we're going to display all property boundaries of every property that's enrolled. Landowners are going to identify the parking area where they want people to park so hunters aren't traipsing throughout the whole property. Max daily reservations are listed. This is determined by the landowner. The landowner tells us how many people they feel comfortable allowing access to the property each day. We specifically call out Sunday hunting, whether it's allowed or not. If it's not, it'll come up where you can see in that example it's unavailable, so they can't even get a reservation for that day. We call out any landowner restrictions. So in this example, I think it says archery, muzzleloader, and shotguns allowed. No centerfire rifles. So any kind of restrictions the landowner wants to put on there, they can put on there. We just need to make sure that they're explicit so hunters can understand them. And then hunters can go on and they can see what the access availability is for 14 days in advance. Moving into more information on the reservation, there's the reservation systems. Again, reservations are only needed for Tier 2 and Tier 3. They are free for hunters. We're not charging anything. They are issued on a first come, first served basis. When you're getting a reservation, the hunter has to provide a CID number, date of birth, email, and phone number. The CID and date of birth, basically, we bounce that off some of our PGC systems to make sure that they have a valid hunting license and there's no major game law violations. The email is so whenever a hunter makes a reservation, they're automatically emailed a copy of the reservation. Landowners can opt into an email for every reservation as well. There's an example of what the reservation looks like. On the back of every reservation is the map of the property that includes the parking areas. And then all records of any reservations are stored in the landowner portal. So new to this system is an optional landowner portal. Landowners don't have to use it, but they can. They can go in there and basically see all the information that we have for them. They can look at their mapping. They can find out, which WCO district, all of that stuff they can see in there. They can also see all of their agreements. They'll have the ability to edit all of their contact information so they don't have to contact us like they currently do. The only thing they cannot do is modify the mapping or the agreement. They'll have to notify us because we both have to agree to that. And again, they have a whole history of all past reservations saved right into that system. The current status of this new system's built. It's being live tested right now on a small scale in the Southwest region. We are in the process of hiring 6 limited term habitat or hunter access technicians to assist with getting existing co-ops re-enrolled. Like I said, this is landowner driven. We want to target all of the existing cooperators first to get them signed up so that we have properties for hunters to access. Outreach is starting this month to get them re-enrolled. We're planning on doing outreach to the general public and hunters starting sometime in January with an expected go live date for the new hunting season next year of July 1st, 2026. And I apologize, I kind of rushed through because I wanted to make sure I didn't go over, so I'll be happy to take any of your questions.
I have a question. John, thank you for that. So you mentioned about the peak, was it 2.6 million acres at the peak? What was it, is it currently or from last year?
I feel ridiculous because I don't know exactly.
Okay.
It's probably about 1.8.
Probably about 1.8.
Yeah.
How many landowners?
Right now we have over 9,500.
9,500.
Yeah, individual landowners.
So are any of those landowners NGOs or?
Yes. Yeah. It's private landowners, NGOs, some timber companies.
Okay.
stuff like that.
And within the NGOs, do you know if any land trusts or conservancies are
Yep.
part of that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, it's good to know. And the harvest-wise, what was the harvest from last year? Do you have any?
We don't track any, like
track.
the way it currently sits, we don't track anything. I can't tell you how many hunters utilized hunter access properties. There's no data at all. That's one of the things I'm excited about the new system, specifically with the tier 2 and tier 3. We'll be able to run those numbers and say, hey, X number of hunters use this system, this year. And then we could actually do that for individual landowners. Say, hey, listen, you provided access to, 15 hunters. They access your property, 345 hunter days. Current system we have, we don't have the ability to run those numbers.
Right. And so how does the access program, I guess, work with, I guess, our new certified hunter program? I mean, is it overlap? Is it integrated? I mean,
Right now, they're integrated in the sense that the certified hunter program is using the system. But we're still hammering out the details, whether the certified hunter is going to be another tier, like a tier 4. We're still working on figuring that out.
okay.
But I mean, certified hunters providing hunter access, but like how we integrate it is still being determined.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you for that.
Yep.
I have a question regarding the onus of the property owner in the database. Can you explain to me again what they're responsible for as far as populating that or editing it, or do they have the option?
Oh, yeah. The landowner portal, it's completely optional. Like if they don't want to do anything, they don't have to. Basically, all the information that gets put in there is put in by us when we have them sign the agreement.
Okay.
We put that in there. If they want, they can monitor their stuff, see, history, like they can come up with their own numbers, see how many people accessed it. If there's some kind of issue, they can go in and say, hey, between like Sunday and Wednesdays, trash was dumped here. They can see who had permission. They can contact us and say, hey, these were the people here. This wasn't like this before. Can you investigate? So they can do that. They can be as involved in that as they want, or they can just sit back and it doesn't require their using the landowner portal. If that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Another question was regarding the number of landowners or just the makeup of that. Are municipalities eligible for that, local townships?
Not anymore. Well, yeah, they are. So we tried to separate private lands as a non-government owned and government owned. So basically, if they're like, Corps of Engineers, if they're township stuff, we're trying to push them into what we call our 400 program. Still offers the same thing, but kind of separates it from a private lands program to a public lands program. But I think there's probably still a couple left. I mean, traditionally, we used to have some state parks in there. We had all kinds of stuff. But over the last, like 7 or 8 years, we tried to make that separation.
So there aren't local townships then, or they're not eligible to participate in that?
They could. They can come to us and they can definitely ask us to do. But like I said, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, we've been making a concerted effort to push them into a 400 area agreement
Okay, all right. That's good to
instead
know.
of just the hunter access agreement.
Okay, thank you for that.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
All right. Thank you for your
John.
time.
Appreciate it. Winter hunting program and tags, Jason?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Jason Dukoski. I'm the Bureau Director of Wildlife Protection. And what I'd like to go over is our proposed language for the possible changes to the mentored hunting program. And this thing might not work for me. Since the successful implementation of the mentored hunting program in the fall of 2006, the Commission has been determined to find ways to improve the program. So I thought before I get over or start talking about the proposed, I would go over the history of what has changed in the mentored hunting program. So milestones of the Mentored Youth Program, Act 86 of 2005, the creation of the Mentored Hunting Program legislatively. In 2006, regulations were created to define the program. Initially, the Mentored Hunting Program was limited to squirrels, woodchuck, and wild turkey, spring gobbler season only. And then for the 2006 and 2000, I'm sorry, for the 2007-2008 season, we included deer. It is important to note that the Mentored Hunting Program initially did not have a permit associated with it. We had no physical tags. We required a handwritten tag, almost like a farm tag that we use currently. In 2008, the regulations were amended to add coyotes to the list of species that Mentored could use or hunt. In 2009, we realized the program was growing, so we had to relocate the Mentored Hunting Program from the licensing sections of regulations to the permit sections of regulations. So that's where we set up the fee for $1 plus any applicable transaction fees. And of course, using the PAL system, it made it a lot more feasible for us to use that system and get the permits out in a quick and economical way. And at that time, antler deer and spring gobbler only. Now, 2011 legislation was created to grant the commission the authority to establish regulations exempting certain mentor hunting program activities. This is the authorization to allow the Game Commission to create regulations to transfer tags. So all those other big game tags that mentors could not apply for or did not receive with their tags, they could get through a transfer. The harvest tag transfer allowance authorized the transfer of only one antler steer. That's still current legislatively. Harvest tag each license year and did not extend to allow the transfer of any other big game harvest tags. 2012 regulations were amended to allow a mentor to transfer a valid fall turkey license harvest tag or DMAP harvest tag to a mentor eligible youth upon the harvest of a fall turkey or antlers doe or deer. 2013, Act 7 of 2013, again, changed legislation to create and allow the agency to implement a mentored adult hunting program within the Commonwealth. So once legislation was created in 2013, I believe this happened probably at the end of 2013, regulations were amended by the board in the following year in 2014 to implement that act. So that was the creation of the adult mentored program. In May of 2015, now I have a month up there because we did multiple actions in 2015 for the mentored hunting program. May is when it took was in action. That's not the date of the commission meeting. So this probably happened in April, but it took effect in May. There were several different actions. Eliminated the issuance of antler deer and spring turkey harvest tags to mentor youth under the age of 7 at the time of application, and also authorized mentors to transfer antler deer and spring turkey harvest tags issued to them to mentored youth under 7 years of age at the time of the application, with a maximum of 1 each per license year. So that is where we created a change that, okay, we see that maybe we shouldn't be issuing harvest tags to children under 7. This allowed us to transfer those tags to the children under 7. Again, in November of 2015, regulations were amended to add cottontail rabbit and mourning dove to the species of mentored youth as eligible species to hunt. And it also required the mentored youth to obtain a migratory game bird license prior to hunting mourning dove because they're on the list of migratory birds. In 2019, regulations were amended to expand the mentored youth program to include youth up to 16 years of age, expand the mentored adult program to include persons 17 years of age. There was a gap. We didn't include the 17-year-olds. We went from 16, skipped 17, and went to 18. So the commission fixed that through this regulation. Limit the participation in mentored junior and mentored adult programs to 3 years total. Set a mentored junior permit fee at $5 for resident applicants and $40 for non-resident applicants plus any applicable transaction and issuing agents. So we talk about mentor junior permits here. We get rid of that whenever we merge the programs here. In 2020, regulations were amended to combine the species eligibility list for mentored youth and mentor adults. We did away with that junior mentored list. Issue all applicable harvest tags to mentor adults and mentored youth 7 years of age or older in a manner consistent with the purchase of a hunting license. Expand the ability to make direct application for antlers deer licenses and deer DMAP harvest permits for mentored adults and mentored youth 7 years of age or older, and expand the eligibility of all mentored hunters to make direct application for migratory bird licenses and pheasant permits. In 2021, regulations were amended to expand the species of eligibility to include waterfowl, bear, and the expanded or special turkey seasons. In 2024, regulations were amended to allow a mentor to accompany up to three of any combination of mentored youth and adults at one time. And just this year, regulations were amended to expand the mentored hunting program to authorize its participants to acquire an ag tag and snow goose conservation permits, which that takes effect September 13th of this year. So the proposal is to go back to the way it was back in 2021. Not specifically, but more directly. The Bureau of Wildlife Protection is proposing to change it to issuing permits with harvest tags to all participants. Currently, those hunters under the age of 7 can receive transfer tags from a mentor. The proposed language that's in front of the board would remove the age, effectively removing the transfer requirement for all mentored youth. A recent audit of citation information concerning unlawfully taken deer, out of 2,185 citations, only found 2 violations associated with the mentored youth program. So we went back as far as we could and did a hand search through citations, and that's all we could find. One main reason for the Bureau of Wildlife Protection supports these changes is because of the transfer of license. Nowhere statutorily does it allow for the transfer of license except for children under the age of 7. By removing the language relating to a transfer of license, regulations are simplified and follow all other statutory laws relating to unlawful transfer or possession of someone else's license while hunting. Several other reasons why the Bureau supports this change. Number one is we're not seeing any abuse of the program as it currently sits. 2 citations out of over 2,000 citations is not an abuse of the system. From day one, Hunter-Trapper Ed students are trained it is unlawful to use someone else's licenses. So we're starting off our youngest hunters with teaching them something that they can't do once they reach the age of 7. And the possibility of the future of the modernization of licenses. I don't know how we will be able to transfer a digital license to someone else. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I'm just trying to think outside the box here and try to, we are going to have to get to electronic license at some point in our lives. So, this could be another avenue for the future modernization of licenses, do away with the transfer of those licenses now. Do I have any questions?
You have any questions? Jason?
Yes.
Yes, Bob?
Hey, Jason, thank you very much for that presentation. Well done, sir. Hey, question for you. We had 2 violations, which you said were minor. Did we have any HRSIs?
So there was a couple, I'm talking like 2 HRSIs that may have been related to a mentored youth, but it doesn't say, it wasn't necessary as 7 or under. It was, I believe, a discharge, an accidental discharge, where some damage was done to property, not a person. From my understanding, it was a transition of a firearm over to the mentor. But again, it was very minor. Not to say any HRSI is minor, but in relationship to how many HRSIs that we see on an average basis, we're maybe 15. and we're only seeing a handful that may have been related to the mentored program. It's very minor.
Thank you very much.
Any more questions?
I have a question regarding out-of-state permits for the mentored youth. Are they still $40?
Yes.
And, okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Jason? Yes, Scott?
Thank you. Hey, Jason, a good law enforcement presentation, and I know you're not prepared, and we're going to be talking about this over the next several meeting cycles. So can the appropriate person, Dave, I don't know who that is, Dave Mitchell, but show us data on the move the needle. We've had mentored youth from '06 to now. Part of the reasoning in my mind is, okay, we need to improve more opportunity, but it isn't moving the needle. And anecdotally, hunting licenses have plummeted since then, and especially the junior category. So you know the number of mentor tags that are issued appropriately. What is the pickup rate?
So currently, I don't know the answer to that. So the mentored youth program, how many people are actually buying hunting licenses later on in life?
Right.
Or in continuing the hunt? I'm not sure. I can tell you last year, we sold over 27,000 mentored hunting permits.
Right, it's been,
But
what is the pickup rate? And are we moving the needle? That's, that can be at next meeting. Yep, thank you.
Anything else?
Jason, when you go down through everything that you presented, and by the way, very good job, because this goes way back, and it just seems like as the years go by, it gets more and more confusing, although every year the program has improved. So I'm looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16 changes since the inception, and the General Assembly passed legislation over in 2006 that said there's no age limit on hunting. And they handed that legislation to the Game Commission to regulate.
Correct.
So it looks to me like we did a pretty darn good job of.
I think the program grew faster than anybody thought it would.
Right. So right off the bat, I mean, this is really, really confusing. It's hard for even me to understand. One question I would have, Kelly, you're in the room, right? How close are we to bringing this into the electronic going live? I mean, I know it's on your agenda, but I mean, were we looking at a year, 2? You don't have to run.
Thanks for saving her all the tough questions.
Thanks, Commissioner Fredericks. So the commission is in the initial stages of working with our current vendor to explore a mobile application to allow for the purchase of digital licenses and digital tags.
Okay.
So in terms of timeline, excuse me, in terms of timeline, I don't want to put a hard date on it at this
Okay.
point, but just know, for the board and the public, we are in those initial phases.
And part of your mission would be to bring in the mentored
Yes,
program.
all programs, all licenses, all tags.
All programs, all licenses, all tags, which would simplify a lot of this. Okay, thank you very much. I guess where I'm having trouble, and I'm going to need a lot of help from staff here, because I surely am going to make a misstatement. I keep hearing from our NGO partners, and the requests seem to be coming mostly from the turkey hunting people. I got a very nice letter from a very, very dear friend and former hunting partner of mine, Rob Keck, and then Ralph Martone, if he's still here. Ralph's still here, or did he leave? Ralph wrote a letter on behalf of the Pennsylvania chapter of NWTF. So I find it hard to believe that mentors and mentees are having a hard time getting their hands on deer permits. So a lot of this focus to help the kids and help improve the mentor program seems to be focused on hunting. And right now, turkey hunter mentors currently need to transfer their spring tag or their fall tag to the mentee. So, I mean, I see that as one one area of improvement. You know, a lot of talk comes up about misuse, you know, and I personally, you know, that carries no water with me, misuse. I mean, sure, people are people. There's always going to, you know, people are going to take advantage and misuse, but that doesn't carry any weight with me. What carries weight with me is the children. And I feel qualified to speak to this issue because I raised 2 children and 4 grandchildren that are all either hunters or have been exposed through the mentor program. And our family has very much enjoyed the mentor program. And I'm not convinced that exposing these kids at an early age is the right thing for them to do psychologically. I really just have a lot of, I mean, I've seen it. I've seen where some kids were mentored by maybe a mentor that just wasn't at the top of his game, and things went bad, and the child just didn't have any interest in hunting anymore because, you know, they weren't ready. They were too young. Things went bad, and things got ugly, and the child said, I don't want to do it anymore. Now, that's all anecdotal. Okay, that's only what I've seen and what I've heard from other people. When I talk to, and believe me, I spent a lot of time in the southwestern part of the state talking to the folks, to the hunters, and to be honest with you, I cannot find one person that's in favor of this regulation as proposed, where the age limit drops to 0. I mean, people just have a hard time swallowing that. I mean, reality is when a baby's born, within 24 hours they get a Social Security number. And, you know, anybody can take the Social Security number, take it to an issuing agent, and get a license with tags. Now, again, I'm going back to abuse, you know, and I don't want to go there. That's not a reason to stop the program because somebody might be abusing. I think we have the best law enforcement people in the country. I have made it my business to talk to all of my wildlife conservation officers. Again, I refuse to call them game wardens. And I talk to the sergeants, and I talk to the regional supervisors, and I talk to law enforcement, LESs, and there's just no support for the regulation as it's written, to drop everything down to 0. Now, can you help me understand, is eliminating the transfer of tags for some period of time, according to Kelly, I mean, we don't know when it is, might be a year, might be 2 years, but it's a narrow window of time. So is it worth dropping the age to 0 to eliminate, how much trouble is it to transfer a tag?
Yet we're not seeing an abuse of the system. However, we are teaching our youngest hunters something that's, after they turn 7, is illegal in any other manner. So the way we look at it is we should teach them the correct way at the beginning of their hunting career and then progress from there.
And when is that?
That, I believe that's up to the parent.
Excuse me, I have a cold. I agree. I'm 100% in favor of parental discretion.
And
you know, that's the parents'
and another
choice.
Another thing to add to that, Commissioner Fredericks, in the January of this year's commission meeting, we had a presentation from Hunter Trapper Ed, Courtney, where she did say that there's 14 other states that have no age requirements as it relates to their mentored programs.
Funny you should bring that up, because I have it on my phone, and it is true. And this is from, Look at my glasses. I hate getting old. GoHunters.com. It goes by every state, starting with Alaska, okay? Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas. And basically what it says is it says some states have no hunting age requirements for big game hunting, but most states have a minimum hunting age requirement for young hunters. Now, I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but as you go down through the states, Alabama, Alaska, Arizona, Arkansas, California, Colorado, no, they do not have a minimum age limit. However, you have to go through some kind of training or do something.
And that's the difference with our mentored hunting program is these people don't have any of that training.
Right, my point. So, with all that said, I've heard some of my fellow commissioners say, and my dear friend Rob Keck say, just take it back to the way it was. Well, which was do you want to go back to? There's 20 of them. I mean, do you want to go back to where they could only kill squirrels and rabbits? Because that's the way it was. You know, so I'm going to cut to the chase. I have an amendment to this that I'd like to offer to the board, and basically what it is, and
Can we wait till the regular meeting, the formal agenda, to make that amendment, please?
pardon me,
Can we wait till a formal agenda to make the amendment?
aren't we under the formal agenda?
No, I'm still doing my
No, we're
presentation.
staff reports.
Oh, this is staff reports. I'm sorry.
That's
Okay.
all right, Denny. Appreciate it.
Okay, let me see if I have any other questions here.
Can I interrupt you, Denny?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Jason, you said 14 states have no age requirement, correct?
No, according to this.
Correct. So what's been the experience in terms of abuse in those states?
It doesn't say. The point of this whole thing is that, yes, most states do not have an age limit. However, all the states that do not have an age limit have some kind of other requirement that they have to go through for hunter safety or take a test. Now, you know as well as I do, a 4-year-old can't read or write yet. So how are they going to go through some kind of safety program? So the point I'm trying to make here is I think it's a huge mistake, and everybody that I talk to agrees with me that lowering the age limit to 0 is just a huge mistake. And again, I apologize, Mr. President, when we get to the formal agenda, I will offer an amendment that I feel is very lucrative, reasonable, and will continue to move the mentor program forward.
Okay.
So I guess my question is, we have 14 other states that don't have an age requirement, and there's been no, I guess, statistical info or data that there's been any abuse or issues or anything with those other states, correct?
I don't know. I was going off of a PowerPoint that was presented to the board in January of this year.
Yes, and he's, and Jason's saying 14, and the site that I'm looking at is way more than 14. I mean, it's virtually every state, really, including Pennsylvania.
Okay, I don't want to belabor.
Delaware, 10 years of age. Florida, 16. Georgia, 12. Hawaii, 16. Idaho, 10. Illinois, 16. Indiana, no age limit. Iowa, 11 years old. Kansas, no minimum age limit. But again, if you read down on each of these, even though there's no age limit, they have to go through some kind of a training safety class, and they're not allowed to hunt alone. So there's caveats that, that people aren't talking about. There's caveats that people aren't talking about. All they want to talk about is there's all these states with no age limits, and then there's people saying, hey, let's just put it back to what it was. Well, what it was liberal, open checkbook legislation that was given to us to fulfill our responsibility to regulate. And if you go by Jason's presentation, I think we did a damn good job of regulating it. The only caveat in this thing that some people don't seem to like is they want no age limit, and that doesn't sit well with me. And I'm not about to pick an age. I don't feel qualified to pick an age. And you know, as we proceed down this road, I mean, I would like to hear from a professional child psychologist or a third party, somebody from the Shooting Sports Foundation or the Wildlife Management Institute, and discuss this. But for now, again, I have a proposed amendment that I think will make a bunch of people happy, and I think it's very reasonable and equitable, and we'll get to that when we get to the formal agenda.
All right. Would
And
you say-
again, Mr. President, I apologize.
I know we're
problem.
belaboring.
Any more comments?
Yeah.
Jason, would you please remain there at the podium for a minute?
All right.
Okay. As president of the board, I would like to take this moment to recognize a member of the PGC staff. Today will be Jason DeCasco's last board meeting with us. He has announced his retirement and take place later this month. The board would like to take this moment to recognize Jason, more than 28 years of dedicated service to the Pennsylvania Game Commission, including his time served as U.S. Marine. He began his career with the Game Commission as a member of the 26th class of the Ross Leffler School of Conservation and was promoted throughout his career throughout the Bureau of Wildlife Protection. Jason has dedicated his career in safeguarding Pennsylvania's wildlife resources and enforcing our game and wildlife laws. Jason will leave us with an incredible legacy and stewardship and leadership. We all would like to wish him well in his retirement. Thank you, Jason.
I'm going to keep it short because, but what makes this job so easy are the people in this room, especially those standing up in the back, your professionals on the left, and the people that come up and talk, even though if they don't feel that the agency's listening to them, they keep coming here, and that's important. That's what keeps, you know, our commissioners, the staff in line, and we appreciate it, even though we don't always agree, but we're one big family. You know, to the board, I wish all of our officers could see how hard the board works. You know, I was on the phone with Steve late last night over some issues, but it's worth it because they do listen, they do care, and I think that's what gets us all in this room is our care. So it'll be nice to be able to hunt deer on opening day after 30 years, be able to trap on time, and you know, just get out there and pursue the animals that got me to the position I'm at.
You're welcome
So-
to Washington County.
I hear there's a lot of deer. So I truly, you can ask my staff, I didn't want to be recognized. I'm not that person, but the people in this room should be recognized.
And thank you for your military service also. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I appreciate everything.
Jason.
Oh, great. Thank you. Yeah, thanks.
All right. Don't even have a column here. Our last presentation, Pete's. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break.
Okay, good morning, Mr. President, commissioners, staff, and the public. I'm Pete Sussenbach. I'm the Southeast Region Director of the Pennsylvania Game Commission. Take us back to 2024. We were very fortunate to acquire a piece of property within the city limits of Philadelphia. And I can tell you, as the former Bureau Director for Habitat Management, I never thought we'd ever be able to accomplish putting a game lands in the city of Philadelphia. So we acquire this property, and almost immediately we start to engage with the publics, state park adjacent to the game lands, and we realize real quickly that we're going to have to do something a little different with this state game lands than we typically do. We start to think about any sort of a hunting opportunity that we can actually provide a quality hunting opportunity. So we start to create some rules internally, and that becomes very successful, and a lot of people buy into it. We've got a program with the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources. We have a drawing in place for limiting hunters on the properties. So if you look at the green on the map, I mean, the picture says 1,000 words. The green on the map is Ben Rush State Park, and that other yellowish orange color is the state game lands. It's approximately 17 acres. There's also some additional Ben Rush State Park properties behind or to the northeast of the game lands. So it ties in perfectly and has connectivity to some other public lands. But we quickly realize it's fairly narrow. There's obviously an intense amount of pressure in that area from the public. If we don't do something to keep people out of there, the hunting experience will be almost zero. 1 or 2 people wandering through there in an afternoon will literally push all the wildlife off of there. So we engage with DCNR. They're willing to open up the property on the northwest side of the Boulevard Route 1, and it becomes a very successful hunt last year. We've actually had people harvesting bucks and does off of the property. We got an ovation at a meeting because there was so much excitement about this property. But we realized pretty quickly that we need to memorialize what that game lands is, what that wildlife management area is. These are words very foreign to those people down there. Talking about hunting is very foreign to these people down there. So we, as a region, strongly support moving in a direction of calling it a special wildlife management area. The hunts are very similar to what we do at Middle Creek and Pymatooning with a limited drawing. We do a very structured orientation with hunters so that they're aware of the rules, regulations that apply to the property. But again, with the intensity of public use and the intensity of potential pressure on that property, we strongly recommend moving this property into the realm of the Special Wildlife Management Area to further strengthen and again memorialize what that piece of property means for the Pennsylvania Game Commission and honestly for the citizens of Philadelphia. So thank you. Any questions? Thank you.
I'd like to bring this September 5th, 2025 Game Commission meeting to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. All stand, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Secretary, would you call a roll, please?
Commissioner Knick,
Here.
Commissioner Sankey,
Here.
Commissioner DeMarco, here. Commissioner Foradora,
Here.
Commissioner Fredericks,
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver,
Here.
Commissioner Mittrick,
Here.
Commissioner Pride,
Here.
Commissioner Swallam.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. First on the agenda. Oh. So we have a motion to approve the minutes for the July 28th, 2025 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Mr. Secretary, would you call a vote, please?
Those in favor of the stated motion, would you please signify by saying aye?
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries.
Okay, we'll start with the agenda.
The first item for consideration comes from the Bureau of Wildlife Protection. Since the mentored hunting program's inception in 2006, the program has grown to include more species of game and wildlife and to expand the age groups eligible to participate in the program. With each step in its evolution, the mentored hunting program has become better aligned with the Commission's traditional hunting license structures. The Commission is proposing to change the mentored hunting program to improve access to the program and expand hunting opportunities. The Commission is proposing to amend Section 147.804 to allow a mentored youth who is under 7 years of age at the time of application to acquire big game tags with the purchase of their mentored hunting permit. Currently, mentored youth under the age of 7 at the time of application are ineligible to receive big game harvest tags with their permit materials. A mentor must transfer their own big game harvest tag to the mentored youth to make them eligible to lawfully harvest and tag big game. This creates challenges for mentors that accompany more than one child throughout the duration of the big game hunting seasons. Furthermore, a mentor who transfers their harvest tag to a successful mentored youth sacrifices their own ability to lawfully hunt for and tag the species for which the tag was issued. This change would align the procedures for the issuance of big game tags to all 3 age groups.
Do I have a motion? Motion? Do I have a motion?
Here.
So
moved.
So mo-
Pardon?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Second. Do we have any discussion?
Stan,
Yes.
did you say it's discussion?
Yes.
Yeah, do you have any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to add what I added in the agenda. I'm not, I understand the mentor program, very big supporter of the mentor program, having mentored 3 youths and others in the past that are now grown men. So I just want to say that, I listened at the last meeting. I know Commissioner Frederick stated he's going to be making an amendment, but I just want to be clear that I support any type of mentored youth in measured steps. I just want to see data on, like I said in the earlier public meeting, on if we're moving the needle with mentored. Also, Mr. Kreiner, I believe, from Pennsylvania Federation of Sportsmen with the image. The image issue is with me with these young kids on TikTok. Those images spread pretty far, and with the heightened gun control that's coming down the pike, I don't want to put us, if we're not moving the needle, I don't want to see an image issue. But for today, I want to hear what Commissioner Frederick said, a proposed amendment, but I just want to be clear to address the public. I'm supportive of youth, always have been. I know Commissioner Swan was passionate about Bob. Thank you for your passion, but if we could go forward, we're going to talk about this for the next 2 or 3 commission meetings, so I'd like to see more data if we're moving the needle. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Fordor. You have anything else?
Mr. President, the opening paragraph, the last sentence in the opening paragraph is the commission is proposing to change the mentored hunting program to improve access to the program and expand hunting opportunities. And if there's no further discussion on the item on the agenda, I would like to offer an amendment. I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's 3 pages long and all it is a bunch of crossed out lines, but I'll get right to the point. And basically, my proposal, I think, is very fair, equitable. It'll improve the program and provide additional opportunity for the kids. And basically what it is the age limits stay the same. So 7 years of age and older, those mentees will get their big game tags for themselves. And the mentees under 7 years old, everything will remain the same, except they will be issued a fall turkey tag and a spring turkey tag.
All right. We have a motion.
Mr. President, may I speak?
Well, can I have a motion? You're making the motion, Denny?
Yeah,
to
that's-
amend
that's-
that?
that's
Do I have a second on that?
Yeah, we need a second.
We have a second?
I'm sorry,
On the amendment?
I'll second it. Was it a
right.
second down there?
Do we have any discussion? Any discussion on? All right. Mr. Secretary, will you give a roll call vote on the amendment?
Stanley Knick,
No.
Mrs. Haley? No, Mrs. Sankey?
No.
Mr. DeMarco, yes, no. Mr. Forodora?
Yes?
Mr. Fredericks?
Yes.
Mrs. Copenhaver?
No.
Mr. Mittrick?
Yes.
Mr. Pride? No. Mr. Swallow?
No.
The amendment did not carry.
Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Secretary, would you call a roll call vote on the original motion?
Okay. Commissioner Knick?
Yes.
Commissioner Sankey?
Yes.
Mr. DeMarco, yes. Commissioner Forodora?
No?
Commissioner Fredericks?
No.
Commissioner Copenhaver?
Yes.
Commissioner Mittrick?
No.
Commissioner Pride?
Yes.
Commissioner Swallow?
Yes.
Six to three.
Yes. There's,
Vote of
so
6 to
tally
3.
is 6 yeses and 3 nos.
All right. Motion carries.
The next item for consideration can be found on page 5 of your agendas. On April 12, 2025, the Commission finally adopted an amendment to Section 147.552F that eliminated the 4 coupon limit for any person participating in the harvest of white-tailed deer on any property covered by an agricultural deer control permit. The text of this amendment failed to remove similar redundant text in section 147.559. The Commission is now proposing to amend section 147.559 to eliminate the text prohibiting a person from using, possessing, or attempting to use or possess more than 4 agricultural deer control permits for a specific permit area in any permit year.
I have a motion.
So moved.
A second.
Second.
Mr. Secretary, will you call a vote, please? Or discussion? You have any discussion on it? Yes, Jason.
Mr. President, so this is basically a housekeeping measure. I missed this when we proposed this at the last meeting.
Yeah.
So we're just trying to catch up and clarify the regulation.
Okay, thank you, Jason. Mr. Secretary, would you call a vote, please?
Those in favor of the stated motion, would you please signify by saying yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries.
The next item can be found on page 6 of your agendas and comes from the Bureau of Wildlife Habitat Management. State Game Land 339, a 17.88 acre tract of land donated to the Commission, is the only state game land within Philadelphia County. This property offers opportunities for bow hunting. Commission staff recommend designating SGL 339 as a special wildlife management area, which is necessary to facilitate quality hunting opportunities. The Commission, therefore, is proposing to amend Section 135.101 to designate the Pocessing Creek Wildlife Management Area as a special wildlife management area.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion?
I just want to make a point with this, Mr. President. One, as we heard during the staff reports, I mean, this is the first game land that we initially acquired in Philadelphia County, and now really enhancing the management of this. And I would believe that this is going to be the first of hopefully a number of other properties that the agency looks to acquire in the city. But I just want to make the point that in addition to the hunting aspect, and I've shared this in previous meetings, this is also an opportunity for us, or we will be managing all of the wildlife that's there. I mean, there are a number of parcels in Philadelphia that, were in similar situations that were being just not used for not just the purposes intended, but just used in a way that I think any of us that are conservation-minded wouldn't like to see. So this is a really great step for the agency. I think first time in the history of the agency that we've acquired in Philadelphia. So I want to, commend the staff and what they've done, and Pete for shepherding this this parcel and connecting it with these other hunting opportunities. I know we've got some other opportunities in that area. So I just, really commend the staff and the agency for moving ahead with this and continue to support these acquisitions in these urban areas.
Thank you, Commissioner Tutt. Do we have any other comments or discussion? None being heard. Mr. Secretary, would you call for a vote, please?
Those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The next item can be found on page 8 of your agendas. The Nature Conservancy is offering to donate 390.3 more or less acres of land in Penn Lake Park Borough, Luzerne County, adjacent to State Game Land number 119. The donation is subject to DCNR approval due to applicable grant funding requirements. This property provides critical access to the existing state game land. The eastern parcel will provide road frontage and access from Whitehaven Road and open 2,400 acres of previously inaccessible lands. The western parcel will provide access from Hollenbach Road. The Commission currently has deeded access to roughly 75% of Hollenbach Road. The Commission will have 100% access to this road as a result of this donation as depicted on Exhibit Red 2.
You have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Do you have any comments or discussion?
Mr. President.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to formally thank the Nature Conservancy for being willing to donate this to us. This is the third donation that the Nature Conservancy has offered to us in the last roughly 2 years. So we're definitely appreciative of that. And the access is the real story here. Shoring up access on the major route running through there between Game Lands 119 is the Pennsylvania Turnpike. So it shores up access to Game Lands 119 on both sides of the Turnpike.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or discussion? None being heard. Mr. Secretary, would you call a vote, please?
Those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The next item is found on page 12 of your agendas, and it is my understanding that Director Haight has a comment.
Yes, thank you, Chief Counsel Martin. The Bureau would like to ask that the board table this acquisition at this time. We have some additional work that needs to be done before it's ready to be finalized.
All right, do we have a motion to table this?
So moved.
Have a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
If I may, Mr. President?
Yes.
Director Haight, can you just kind of run us through, I mean, it looks on the surface like this hits all the priorities of the agency. It's an indenture to an existing game lands. Is there, I don't necessarily need to know what the additional work is that needs to be done, but kind of run us through why this 23.5 acres that the Laurel Mountain Energy is offering is so valuable to us as an agency.
Sure. Yeah, so as you know, so a priority for us is to acquire in-holdings and indentures. You can see this clearly meets that specification. 83% of the boundary of the parcel in question is bordered by state game lands. So this would actually additionally help us to so as far as like surveying work and so forth, it would actually make it easier on us. As you can see, it actually shortens the amount of boundary. I think, those are being an in-holding and actually lessening the amount of survey work that would need to be done and maintenance over time are kind of the biggest attributes of this. Additionally, this is previously mined over land, which is not good for a lot of uses out there, but it's obviously makes excellent wildlife habitat.
Thank you.
Any other comments or discussion? Mr. Secretary, would you call a vote, please?
Those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries.
The next item for consideration can be found on page 14 of your agendas. Cheryl R. and Richard S. Lindholm, husband and wife, and Lori J. Reed are offering 1,340 more or less acres of subsurface oil, gas, and mineral real estate located in and under State Game Land number 143. The option price is $469,000 lump sum to be paid from the Game Fund as authorized under Section 705C of the Game and Wildlife Code. State Game Land number 143 contains quality habitat for ruffed grouse, as well as Blue Eye Run, a stock trout stream. By acquiring this interest in the subsurface estate, the Commission will have greater control over future development efforts that could impact the unique habitat on this game land.
We have a motion.
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion, comments?
If I may, Mr. President. Director Haight, just because this one happens to be in my backyard, it certainly piques my interest. Any immediate plans from the agency as far as development of those? I know there's pump jacks, in existing oil and gas development on 143. So just wondering what's in the immediate future there, and kind of what your thought process is.
Sure. This is mostly for us to help gain control of this. You know, we own the surface. It's for us to gain control of the subsurface as well, so we can control surface activities on the game land. That's the primary reason we're going after this at this point. There are no plans at this point to go after any kind of oil and gas development as it stands now. I will note that there are also aggregate operations around this game land, so we're looking to protect, obviously, the surface of the game lands from any potential surface mining use in the future.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Mr. Secretary, would you call the vote, please?
Those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
The next item can be found on page 16 of your agendas. Donna Reed and Ray H. Reed are offering 6 more or less acres of land in Howard Township, Center County, adjoining State Game Land number 92 to the Commission in exchange for 2 more or less acres of land, more or less acres of State Game Land 92 in Howard Township, Center County. This exchange is authorized under Section 723(1) of the Game and Wildlife Code. Commission staff determined the proposed exchange is in the best interest of the Commission as it improves the integrity and manageability of State Game Land 92. The Commission will retain an administrative right-of-way across the property.
We have a motion.
So
So
moved.
moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have a question. Why are the Reeds so interested in that 2 acres?
Sure. So they are looking to, so their property adjoins the game lands, and they are looking to subdivide their property to their children, or at least one of their children. And there's stipulations in the township and county there in Center County about subdivisions and having like legal road frontage to do a subdivision. So that's their main reason for coming to us looking for this exchange.
Will we be losing any huntable land there as far as the hunt zone next to their land?
No, no. Like the land we're exchanging, that wouldn't really be huntable land anyway. There is a road access that goes there, so most people wouldn't be utilizing that 2 acres. In addition, we're getting 3-to-1 on the exchange, so we're getting 3 times the number of game lands added up in that other section. So no, there's no anticipated adverse impacts to huntable land.
Any other comments? Discussion? Mr. Secretary, would you call a vote, please?
Those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. Motion carries.
The next item for consideration can be found on page 18. Flickerville Cross of Fulton County Foundation is offering to participate in an exchange of 16 more or less acres in Brush Creek and Belfast Townships, Fulton County, adjoining State Game Land number 65, for 140 more or less acres of land in Washington, Penn, and Union Townships, Snyder County, adjoining State Game Land 212. Flickerville Cross of Fulton County Foundation will provide $31,200 towards the $275,000 option price of the 140 more or less acres being offered by the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. The Commission will pay the balance of $243,800 from the Commission's restricted account, representing settlement funds from environmental damage claims brought by the Commonwealth. Access is from Hidden Valley Road. This exchange is authorized under Section 723(1) of the Game and Wildlife Code. Commission staff determined the 140 more or less acres to be conveyed to the Commission is of greater value than the land to be conveyed to Flickerville Cross of Fulton County Foundation, and that the proposed exchange is in the best interest of the Commission.
We have a motion.
So move.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I was wondering if you could give us a little bit of the background. I know the background on this, but I'm not sure the other commissioners do as well.
Sure. The Flickerville Cross Foundation is a group of citizen or parishioners at a Whipped Cove Church out there, and they've been using this section of game lands in the past for a cross ceremony. They illuminate a cross on the hill at Easter time frame. So I think in the best interests of the commission, we decided it would be best for them to continue that tradition, for us to essentially exchange this land with them. And then they could, since they don't have land to exchange, in reality, they're putting it towards another acquisition in the same region. So,
Okay, thank you.
sure.
Any other comments or discussion? None being heard. Mr. Secretary, would you call for the vote, please?
Those in agreement with the proposed motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same sign. Motion carries.
The next item for consideration can be found on page 22. PPL Electric Utilities Corporation is offering 36 more or less acres of land in Hanover Township, Luzerne County, adjoining state game land number 207, in exchange for a 2.88 more or less acre non-exclusive right-of-way on state game land 207 to allow PPL better access to their electric infrastructure. This exchange is authorized under Section 723(1) of the Game and Wildlife Code. PP&L is accepting and reserving an electric line easement to support their continued operation and maintenance of electric lines and appurtenant equipment located throughout the acreage being conveyed. Commission staff determined that 36 more or less acres to be conveyed to the Commission is of greater value than the 2.88 more or less acre right-of-way to be granted to PP&L, and that the proposed exchange is in the best interest of the Commission. This exchange improves property integrity and manageability of state game land number 207 by resolving numerous boundary line issues.
We have a motion.
So moved.
Do we have a second? Second. Do we have any discussion or comments? None being heard. Mr. Secretary, would you call for a vote, please?
Those in agreement with the proposal, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. The motion carries.
Do we have any new business?
Mr. President, if I may, and perhaps this would have been more appropriate under discussion earlier, but I think it's important to note with the change that was made with Mentor to Youth, that does not go into effect this year for this hunting season. That would be, correct me if I'm wrong, but that'll take effect next year. So just as a point of clarification, as this gets out to our hunters, that they understand that if they haven't purchased a youngster their hunting license yet and they go to Walmart tomorrow, the rules that are in the digest are still in effect for this year. And next year is when these changes will take place, and we'll be looking to our mentors to uphold everything that they've been upholding up to this point, and to continue conducting themselves in a very responsible and ethical manner. Being a mentor is a huge responsibility and a great tradition here in Pennsylvania.
Mr. President, I'd like to add to that for everybody to keep in mind that final adoption won't take place until a second meeting and a second vote, which I suppose would be January.
Anything else?
Mr. President, I just want to make mention of something that a number of us have talked about before this meeting, but I just want to publicly acknowledge in my role as commissioner the condolences to the family of a high school student that some of you may have heard in West Bradford Township in Chester County, lost his life in a deer accident this past Tuesday. Very, very difficult situation in every way, shape, and form. And so myself and our state senator, Carolyn Committis, whose district that is, and who went to visit the parents last night, and extending her condolences, but just a very difficult situation. So I just, in my role as commissioner, but also personally want to acknowledge and extend condolences and ask those here with me to also do the same. I mean, the job that our law enforcement and others do to, continue to protect the public. I mean, this is one of those circumstances that we never want to see. So I just wanted to, publicly make this, expression of condolences to the family and everyone that student's family has touched. So not a way I wanted to end this meeting, but feel like I had to put this forth publicly in this way.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Todd. Anything else from the board? All right, our next commission meeting will be January 30th and 31st, 2026. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.